Okay. Our last speaker, everybody's very familiar with, President Daniel Miller, my buddy. We've been friends for quite some time, actually. We've been dealing with this same issue. We want the same things. We want to get all of our rights back and have control of our government. Okay? Take back control of our government. So I want to get Daniel Miller up here, and I want to tell everybody, we need to start paying attention to these guys have helped us tremendously at getting this thing set up, and I want to thank him myself.
Where are my Texans at? I have to tell you, it does my heart good to look out here on the south steps of the Capitol in Texas and see a day that I wondered if it would ever happen. This last Monday, 13 years ago, I became a member of the Texas Independence Movement. And I wondered if this day would ever come. I wondered if the people would ever get fed up so much that they were willing to take Texas back. After we were invited to speak, I had a quote that just kept popping up in my head from Thomas Jefferson. And I know it's funny because when they recently did an article on independence and secessionist movements, I think it was in Slate, I think it was actually the Wall Street Journal article, they talked about how kind of quoting Thomas Jefferson in a movement like ours is somewhat cliche. But I have to say that if the guy's got something to say about secession, I'm willing to quote him till the cows come home. Well, Thomas Jefferson, this quote kept rolling around in my head, and he said that no attachment to any nation on earth should be greater than our attachment to liberty. And at that moment, I knew exactly which part of the sovereignty or secession rally we would be talking about today. There is a lot of talk going around about sovereignty. There's a lot of it. People are extremely concerned with what's coming out of Washington, D.C. And I got to tell you, it's about time, folks. This struggle did not start when Barack Obama was elected president. The encroachment of the federal government preceded him by several decades. But for some reason, the people are waking up now. And they are saying enough is enough. It's easy to try to pin this as a Barack Obama problem. But this is not a Barack Obama problem. This is a federal government problem. I had a conversation with a gentleman over here just a moment ago, many of you saw it, who was very upset that we were here protesting against health care. And I have to tell you, his name is Ed, and Ed's a veteran. Ed proudly served this country and fought for our rights and for our Constitution. And while Ed and I may not agree on policy issues, the one thing that we can agree on is the Constitution and our rights are inalienable and they are worth fighting for. Now, unfortunately, Ed and I have fallen on opposite sides of a particular issue, and that issue is the legitimacy or the acceptability of secession. But as reasonable individuals, we can have reasonable conversations. Unlike these quote-unquote elected officials in Washington, D.C., which try to have unreasonable actions couched in reasonable arguments. They try to reason out through fear, through justice, their lingering encroachment upon our rights and upon the Constitution. And in that, there is no agreement with us whatsoever. You know, we're standing at a crossroads, folks. And this crossroads for us here in Texas is embodied in this statement of this rally. Sovereignty or secession. And it presupposes one big thing. It presupposes that Texas will make a stand on one or the other. And I think that is a reasonable assumption, knowing what we know about Texas.
That's right.
At the Alamo, the defenders of the Alamo had a choice. They could defend it with their last breath, or they could leave. And they made a choice to stay. They made a choice to die. They made a choice to make a stand for something that mattered against a dictator. And strangely enough, in 2009, we find ourselves in a very similar situation. Not that we're dealing with a single dictator, but we're dealing with an entire system that is bent on tyranny, that is bent on expending its rules and its rights into your pockets, into your freedoms. They are hell-bent for leather, folks, on taking away what you've got. They want what you've got. You've got a spark of liberty that lives inside of you because you're here today. It can't be legislated. It cannot be socially engineered by some board that they try to create for the Department of Energy. No, you can't. It lives within inside of you. And we talk a lot about Texans having that spark. And it kind of flared up a little bit during one of the tea parties on April 15th. Where Governor Perry, and I'll address the issue of him later, when he was giving a speech and the crowd began to chant, what? Secede! 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 That's what they chanted. So they asked him afterwards, what do you think? He said, well, we reserve that right. If things get so bad, we reserve the right to leave. And I got to tell you, it's the first solid thing that he's done in his administration that I can agree with in many, many years. So here's where we stand, folks. We're here on the south steps, the south lawn of the Capitol. And on the top of this building, you see a statue. Do you notice which direction she's facing? She's facing you. And she was placed that way for a very specific reason. Because when they raised her to the top of this Capitol, they wanted to face her south. So she would forever have her back turned to that nation to the north that knew not liberty. So here we are, folks. With Jefferson's quote rolling around, we've had a lot of conversation here today. We've heard a lot of remarks about sovereignty. And it is indeed a course worth pursuing. But here's something that we need to remember. When HCR 50 came about, and I know Jerry mentioned Representative Creighton, before the Tea Parties in this building right here, they had a press conference about HCR 50. People here know HCR 50 is the sovereignty resolution. It's going around in many other states. And they had a press conference where Perry called the government oppressive. And then, pardon my French, but all hell broke loose. Because a sitting governor referred to the federal government as oppressive. So how dare he, right? In the minds of those people out there, how dare he say something along those lines? So the backlash came, and politicians do what politicians do. And they said, well, I have to tell you, HCR 50 is not about seceding from the Union. It's about succeeding in the Union. So here's my challenge to Governor Perry, who could not grace us with his presence today, or Representative Creighton, who authored the bill, or many of these other people who signed on to HCR 50. The federal government knew doggone good and well exactly what was in that bill, exactly what it meant, and exactly what Texas was saying before it ever passed the House of Representatives. So I challenge those guys that are in the House that supported that bill, Governor Perry included. I want you, if it is not about seceding from the Union, but succeeding within the Union, I want you to show us success.
That's right. Yeah.
I want you to show us that they in Washington, D.C. are listening now. Show us that they are responding to what you are saying. Are they responding to you? Do you feel like they're responding to your voice? I want those guys to show us that they are obeying the Constitution. Are they obeying the Constitution? I want those supporters of HCR 50 to now show us that the federal government is respecting our rights. Are they respecting your rights? Are they restoring your freedoms? Are they returning the federal government back to its box? Well, if they won't show that to us, then I challenge the legislators to show us that you care. Show us that it was just not pillow talk. Show us that you have courage. Show us that you have character. And in the end, show us that you're a Texan. So I know that Jerry has talked about how we have got, sorry, I have to drink water. It's hot, right? Don't you love it? I love Texas. When General Sheridan came to occupy Texas after the Civil War, he got enough of it and he said, if I owned Texas in hell, I'd live in hell and rent out Texas. I think it had to do with the heat. Or maybe it was our attitude, right?
Hell with it.
Yeah, not a fan, just so you know. Not a fan of Sheridan. Well, here's where we are, folks. You know, I'm here to speak on the issue of secession. And this is something that confounds the politicians, it confounds the major media, it confounds people in other states. Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about. They don't get it. This is why they don't understand. Because issues of freedom, they don't know any boundaries. There are no lines. We are a movement that, as confounding as it is to them, consists of Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents. All religions, all races, all socioeconomic levels, doctors, lawyers, the blue collar like my father who was an iron worker for 35 years. We got it all. And that we're Texans because we understand that we're Texans and we understand that issues of freedom and liberty in Texas transcend all lines. Tyranny does not discriminate, and neither should freedom. Well, in these issues of freedom, folks, we have a long slog ahead of us. We have a fight ahead of us. We know that based on the poll numbers that there are roughly 6 million people of voting age in Texas that agree that Texas would be better off as an independent nation. So my friends, you are in good company. Because ultimately Texas understands one thing. No matter what the government gives us, the federal government wants to quote unquote give us for free. The place to get the free cheese is always in the middle of the mousetrap. So ultimately, folks, this is what we have to do. Rallies like this are great. They allow us to come out and they allow us to vent frustration. Because just like Ed, who's frustrated about health care, he's a veteran, and he's frustrated about it. You're frustrated too. You're frustrated about a lot of issues. But ultimately, it is up to us to do something.
That's right.
So, I'm going to give you your first step today. As of today, we are calling for a national day of action on September 2nd. Because the governor has been resistant to call for a special session to address the issue of Texas sovereignty, I want you to flood the switchboard. I want you on September 2nd, every single one of you, to contact every person you know, and I want you to flood the switchboard. Because one thing politicians know is when people are mad. Now, this is not torches and pitchforks, folks. But it is a tangible sign that we are ready for these guys to get off the dime and do something, because in the words that my father used to say, it's time for you to either lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. Let's hear pitchforks. I love it. So ultimately, folks, here's what we're going to have to do. We are standing in the middle of history. You are writing history today. I don't know the last time they had a rally on the Capitol grounds calling for sovereignty or secession.
1861.
I would say that would be a good guess. But you're writing history. We are we're already almost 10 years into the 21st century. Almost 10 years. And it's funny, but there's a phrase that keeps coming up over these 10 years. On September the 11th, 2001, foreign extremists slammed planes into the Twin Towers and into the Pentagon. And people became worried and frustrated. They were worried and frustrated. And so what happened? People said, hey, can you protect us from foreign extremists? And the Bush administration said, yes, we can. And just a little bit of your freedom was eroded. Your rights were encroached on in the name of security. So then, the invasion of Iraq commenced because they had weapons of mass destruction, and the question on everybody's mind was, they said, well, can we win in Iraq? And the administration said, yes, we can. They said, yes, we can. Even to the point that they had a plane fly onto an aircraft carrier with a big mission accomplished banner in the background. They said, yes, we can. And the Constitution was eroded even more. So after all of that time of the Bush administration eroding the Constitution, people were frustrated. They were mad. So somebody was running for president, and Congress, and people were asking them, can you restore our constitutional rights? And with a wink, they said, yes, we can. So then what happened? Economic crisis. First thing they did, they issued the bailouts. They said, can you fix the economy? And they said, yes, we can. GM decided to tank, and they said, oh my God, can you save the auto industry? And the administration replied, yes, we can. And again, more of our freedoms and rights were eroded. People were upset about the environment. They said, can you protect the environment? And they said, yes, we can. And yet again, we got cap and trade, where Texas got the short end of the stick, folks. People are frustrated with their health care. And so people said, can you give us some sort of solution to our health care? And they said, well, yes, we can. And here we stand. Just in that building right over there, they'll be having something in support of the health care plan. So we are at this point now where we're saying, oh, please don't. And they're saying, yes, we can. At each step, at each stage, they said, yes, we can, and our rights were eroded. We were pushed a little further and pushed a little further. Well, on April 15th of this year, as I mentioned earlier, someone asked Governor Perry, do you believe that Texas has the right to secede if things get bad? And what did he say? Yes, we can. So now, we as a people who have heard that call, that it is time for sovereignty or secession, can we secede? Yes. Guess what? That phrase now belongs to us. Can we make secession a reality? Can we promote freedom and limited government? Can we stand up for our rights as guaranteed by our forefathers? Can we protect the Texas that the Alamo defenders left for us? So I have to say now, and this is my warning. And I want, even though Perry is not here and Creighton and the rest of the legislature is not here, I want them to hear this loud and clear. That it is time for them to take up that banner. And it is time for them to take the lead. And if they do not pick up that banner and carry it high, then we will. Governor Perry, I, and the rest of the people of Texas, if you abrogate this leadership, we will pick up this banner and we will march it forward. And when it comes to the time for a vote for secession,